So I'm really late to the party on this one. Election has come and gone, and I'll happily admit I've been bathing in the tears of butthurt millennials. Keeps the hair nice. So rather than just sit on the sidelines, I feel maybe I should dip my toe into the petulant waters of internet politics. However, I don't want to be one of those angrier, louder YouTubers. My character's never really been about that, aside from a couple jokes here and there, and it would be awkward if I tried. So in the interest of keeping things civil, I want to address a video from someone I considered myself somewhat a fan of. Moviebob. Now, I've been following Moviebob from his escapist days, and while I can't say I religiously watched every episode he comes out with, more than a couple of his videos I find interesting. However, his post-election video I took some issue with, and obviously that was the inspiration for this video. As mentioned, I'm aiming to keep things polite and civil, so allow me to pick apart the video and offer my own rebuttal.
Like every sane person in this country, Yeah, this is not going to be a conciliatory message, by the way, just to be clear. Yeah, like every sane person in the United States, sane person worldwide, I was fucking shell-shocked and horrified and disturbed by the election.
My first issue is with saying, like every sane person in the States, I was shell-shocked and horrified by the outcome. So, Bob, that would imply if you weren't shell-shocked or horrified by the outcome, you are insane. Now, let's assume 60 million voters for Trump who weren't shell-shocked or horrified. So have you analyzed each individual, Bob? Where is your license showing that you're qualified to make that diagnosis? Now, taking a statement to a literal hyperbole aside, that sort of rhetoric against an incredibly large portion of the population contributes to the litany of variables resulting in Clinton's loss. And yet you continue to use it as if doubling down on that will make it true.
Of a fucking game show host.
You keep bringing up how Trump is a game show host. Let's put aside significant figures in politics before crossed over from acting and other non-political starts. Why is it a terrible thing that he was a game show host? The only qualifications to become president are you must be at least 35 years old and a natural-born citizen. That's it. And why is Trump only being seen as a game show host throughout his professional career? The Apprentice is a fairly recent endeavor when you consider the entirety of his professional history.
Put aside the racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, all the witch's brew of awfulness.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Bob. As you failed to give me examples to address, I'm going to assume you're referring to the two most popular claims, calling Mexicans rapists and calling blacks lazy. So instead of banking on headlines from Washington Post and CNN, let's look at the actual quote.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense.
In that particular quote, he lists a wide range of problems we're getting from illegal immigration that he was informed of by border guards. He also says some of them are good people. His statement was about American borders being taken advantage of and America becoming a dumping ground for the problem citizens of other nations, referring to illegal immigrants as his example. Now, how true that comment is debatable. He only cited Border Patrol, and while they would be knowledgeable on the topic, we don't know where they were getting their figures from. Whether or not the information was based on hearsay from interviews or stats offered by Border Patrol, he doesn't specify. But racist? No. Didn't stop mainstream media from spinning it, though. The other major racist complaint comes from a book where the writer cites Trump calling blacks lazy back in 1991. I'm skeptical of this claim because the writer admits what he published was not recorded and entirely based off of memory. And I'm sorry, but memory is easily skewed. Without hard evidence of the statement, the claim is essentially he said, she said, which I'm not about to take as concrete fact. Didn't stop the mainstream media from spinning it, though. Bob, as liberals tend to do, didn't specify another thing about the anti-women sentiments, but I'm going to assume they stem largely from the grab 'em by the pussy tape. And this is again another case of not listening to the entire quote.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the.
The important part there is, when you're rich, they'll let you do it. That implies consent. I'm so sorry, Bob, but there are women out there who are, let's just say, easy. When I was a man in uniform, you know how easy it was to go to a bar and pull some poon? I had a daughter finished gestating 9 months later. But didn't stop the mainstream media from spinning it, though. With regards to xenophobia, I refer you to my earlier question. How are you legally qualified to diagnose anyone with an anxiety disorder? Again, you didn't specify, so I'm assuming you're referring to the wall and immigration ban. Let me ask you, how is it wrong to enforce borders? How is it wrong to enforce immigration? How is it wrong to see that there is a radical problem coming from parts of the world and deciding to minimize the risk of attack? How is taking measures to protect the people of your country a bad thing? Now, is a ban on immigration from certain countries the right way to go about it? This is a very difficult subject, and neither you nor I are qualified to say with certainty it is the right decision or not. Only time will tell. Now we come to the part of his video I took the most grievance with.
Good, worthwhile people must resist this and fight it to the best of their ability.
Bob, you have basically said here that anyone who doesn't resist Donald Trump is not a good or worthwhile person. Fuck you. You are every bit as prejudiced and bigoted as the half of the country you claim are. In order to make the claim that a large group is all inherently bad and not worthwhile, then you have to prejudge that group and disregard their opinions and voice. Prejudice and bigotry. You can further see it in his blog where he says, and I quote, "I'm a proud citizen of the society of the future. Those places," referring to any part of America that isn't a metropolitan city, "are the past. Why are we wasting time and resources propping any of that up when everyone knows the action is here? And no, the fact that I'm right in the macroeconomic societal evolution sense doesn't make the dismissiveness less mean-spirited or callous in practice." End quote. To be fair, he said he gets why non-metropolitan Americans are upset with the changing world, but then almost immediately brushes them off as incorrect. From there, the blog continues to be smug douchebaggery, taking ideas out of context, laying on guilt trips that we've somehow harmed every non-white individual in the country when outside of Pence's shocking the gay out of people are largely bullshit stories propped up by the mainstream media who were so far up Hillary Clinton's ass they were checking her for intestinal cancer and saying, "Fuck you, rural America, you voted for a bad guy," as if Bob is somehow the objective decider on good and evil. And just look at the level of arrogance on display here. The way Bob puts it, not being part of a major metropolitan area is synonymous with being less sophisticated, less intelligent, less wholesome, less worth a damn than the entitled piss ants crying in the streets, breaking their toys over losing an election that their party was going out of their way to cheat. And we're supposed to take Bob's opinion seriously when he calls out other people for being intolerant? Look in the Whole Foods sliding door you use as a fucking mirror, you querulous hypocrite. Now don't get the wrong idea, folks. I'm not blindly loyal to the God Emperor Trump. Truth be told, I supported Obama back in 2008, and in the 2012 election I was busy dealing with Somali pirates, so you'll forgive me for not taking part or paying much attention. But come 2016, when we have a candidate looking to continue what policies and cultural stigmas I feel were dicking me over, I took it upon myself to cast my ballot for the Republicans. Just as Obama and his party drove me from their side, Trump and his party can very easily do the same thing. And even though as of this video he's been seeming to pull back on some of his election promises, he'd have to instigate the fourth fucking Reich for me to go back to the side of SJWs and identity politics.
You have to fight and resist and stay angry and stay involved and stay active, even though your prevailing instinct will be to let things feel normal again and let things settle.
I actually agree with this, Bob. Get involved in politics. This is supposed to be the idea of a democracy. Everyone has a voice. That's why a game show host can win the presidency. The problem is, gone are the days when people would write their congressman or march with 1,000,000 men on Washington for a peaceful protest. Now my millennial peers throw a temper tantrum and destroy their own cities, which is not useful. Maybe 70% of them should have voted.
You know, for those of you who haven't been watching the show for a while, or perhaps only ever saw my content when there was a good guy presidential administration going on, you know, to borrow a line from Mission Impossible, you've never seen me very upset.
Did he hear himself right there? You never No, but in all seriousness. Bob, you are an avatar of what people who don't live in LA or New York absolutely despise about what liberals and the Democratic Party have become. Your smug elitism and blindness to anyone who doesn't own a goddamn Prius was what drove over half the country, including a strong number of Obama's voters, to Donald Trump. You and everyone who overreacted to this election and tried to inflate bullshitting between friends as an act of verbal heresy against women, and have tried to turn nationalism, the idea of putting your country's needs above that of other countries, into a cardinal sin, is why Donald Trump won. I said in the beginning that I wanted to be civil, but as you've seen, that ship has sailed. The more I read of his blog, the more I began to loathe Moviebob and his pretentious disconnect from the majority of the country. I spent a long time in the past defending the guy, but over the course of making this video, I now have my eyes wide open as to why this corpulent cunt nugget has become the laughingstock he is. Well, Bob, you've lost a viewer, you've lost a subscriber, you've lost a donator. Enjoy your self-righteous echo chamber.